Okay, so let's talk about something wild. What if you could live forever? I'm not talking about being a ghost or, getting frozen in a tube. I mean living on as a digital being, your entire consciousness uploaded to a computer. It's the ultimate sci-fi dream for sure. But how close are we really? And maybe the biggest question of all, what would it actually mean for you? All right, let's dive in. Just try to imagine this kind of life for a second. No more airports, no more jet lag, no physical limits at all. The philosopher Susan Schneider, she paints this incredible picture of a future where your mind could just be downloaded into an android body, like anywhere on the planet. You want to climb Everest? Bam, you're there. Feel like skydiving? No problem. It's this vision of absolute freedom, right? A life where you can't get hurt, and maybe, just maybe, it's a real shot at living forever. So, what are we really talking about when we say digital immortality? Look, this is way more than just backing up your photos to the cloud. The goal here is to copy everything that makes you, well, you. We're talking your memories, how you think, your feelings, your entire personality, the whole shebang. And this digital copy of you could then keep on living, making new memories, learning new things, long after your physical body is gone. So why are we so obsessed with this idea? Well, it taps right into our deepest human desires, doesn't it? I mean, just imagine if the minds of geniuses like Einstein or Marie Curie could just keep working, keep discovering. Or think about it on a more personal level. What if you could ask your grandfather for advice, even after he's gone? Or have a real conversation with an ancestor from centuries ago? It's all about preserving legacies and, let's be honest, cheating death. Okay, but before we get too carried away, we have to talk about the sheer scale of this problem. The memory capacity of a single human brain is estimated to be around 2.5 petabytes. And to put that into perspective for you, 1 petabyte is a million gigabytes. So your brain is holding on to about 2.5 million gigabytes of information. That is a truly staggering amount of data to even think about copying. So, how in the world could we even begin to tackle a challenge that big? Well, futurists are looking at this less like a philosophical dream and more like a massive engineering problem. And for every big engineering problem, you need a blueprint. And here it is, a speculative guide that tries to break down the impossible into manageable steps. First, and this is a big one, you have to actually understand what consciousness is. Then, you'd need a brain scan with a level of detail we can't even imagine today. You'd have to build a storage device massive enough to hold all that data, figure out how to transfer that huge file without losing anything, and then, of course, have some seriously advanced cybersecurity to protect it. And finally, you'd need a computer powerful enough to actually run a simulated mind. It's like a roadmap to a whole new kind of existence. And here's what's so incredible. You might be surprised how far along we already are. If you break this whole thing down into its main technological hurdles, we've basically solved 3 out of the 4. We can store huge amounts of data, no problem. We have incredibly advanced AI. We can even synthesize a person's voice from just a tiny audio clip. We're so close. The only thing left is that final, monumental hurdle, actually uploading consciousness itself. So it feels like we're right on the edge, doesn't it? But this is where we hit a major snag, a huge reality check. Because all the tech in the world doesn't matter if we don't understand the science of the brain itself. Before you copy a mind, you kind of have to know what a mind is. Yeah, it sounds like a simple question, but it has a profoundly complex answer. What are we actually copying? I mean, is a memory just a connection between 2 brain cells? Is it a pattern of electricity, a specific kind of molecule? Think about it. If you don't know what a memory is actually made of, how can you ever be sure you've made a perfect copy? Okay, so let's go to the experts, the neuroscientists. A recent survey shows that a pretty strong majority, over 70%, agree that our long-term memories are stored in the connections between our neurons, in what are called synapses. So it seems like we have a general idea of where to look. That's a fantastic start. But here's the catch, and it's a huge one. To put it simply, we don't know how detailed our map of the brain needs to be. Yeah, most scientists agree on where the memories are, but there is zero consensus on the level of detail we need to capture. Is it enough to just map out the cells, or do we need to know the location of every single biomolecule, or even go down to the atomic level? Nobody knows for sure what that critical scale for a memory actually is. And this uncertainty? It is massive. That same survey asked neuroscientists, what's the probability that we could ever decode memories, even from a perfectly preserved brain? The median answer they gave was just 40%. Let that sink in. That number shows just how deep the skepticism runs in the neuroscience community. We're not even sure if the information is stored in a way our technology could ever read. But okay, let's just imagine for a second that we solve all of that. We crack the science, we build the tech, it all works perfectly. Well, then an even bigger problem pops up, one that isn't about science at all. It's a deeply personal existential crisis. See, the philosopher Susan Schneider says we have to understand that there are two different kinds of identity. First, there's numerical identity. That's you, the original, an unbroken stream of consciousness from one moment to the next. Then there's a psychological duplicate. This is a perfect copy. It has all your memories, it thinks it's you, it acts just like you, but it's not the same substance. It's a photocopy, not the original document. And that distinction leads to a pretty chilling conclusion. Schneider's argument is that when you upload, you are probably dying. Why? Because that process of scanning your brain and then activating a copy somewhere else, it breaks that chain of numerical identity. There's a gap in space and time. So the original you, that consciousness ceases to exist. The brand new digital being wakes up thinking it survived, but what really happened is that you died and were replaced by a perfect imposter. So we're left with this incredible tension, right? On one hand, you have this promise of a technology that could let the greatest minds in history keep working, or let us talk to our loved ones forever. But on the other hand, we have huge scientific doubts and this terrifying philosophical trap that suggests uploading isn't survival at all. It's just a very high-tech form of suicide. And look, this whole debate isn't just pure theory anymore. It's on a potential timeline. Neuroscientists actually made predictions. They think we might successfully emulate a simple roundworm's brain by 2045, a mouse's brain by 2065, and a full human brain by 2125. This is moving out of the realm of science fiction and into a future that experts are actively trying to map out. And that really brings us to the final and maybe most important question. A question for you. If a perfect digital copy of you could carry on your work, could be there to comfort your family, and could preserve your personality for all of eternity, but the original you, your continuous stream of consciousness, would have to end for it to happen, would you push the button? What would you choose?